Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video was brought to you by a donation from Toolmaker, and here's what he's got to say. Hello Sandman, I'm writing to you on getting your input on the topic of male plight in society, and how they're alone unless they're the top males. Males are expected to be providers and protectors in society without reward. Women are allowed to do as they want with their careers and opportunities men gave them, and many of them are ungrateful because they can't find a male with the same status in return. I saw one of your memes of the week videos where you had a meme with the chats at the top, then women, and then the invisible males all ranked in hierarchy. We know society comes to the aid of the independent woman when she's at her low and is protected, but the suffering male is given a cold shoulder and left to die alone. It seems like males are more likely to be hurt or assaulted by other men, or women also. And as you mentioned to me before, stats do not say why. Do women and top tier males enjoy the suffering of the majority of men in society? Is there malice in their hearts? As an example to this topic, I saw a video where a man gives the red pill in a letter, where his wife divorced him for another man and his health was failing. And when she had poor health later, her family demanded money from him, and he did not help her, thus infuriating them. Thank you and have a good day. Well, Toolmaker, thanks for the donation as well as the topic. All men are alone, except maybe the top 1% of men. If you think it's bad trusting women or people in general, then you're the average dude. Then what do you think it's like if you're wealthy and people want to sop you up with a biscuit? You don't know who's using you and who genuinely likes you. The only way you know for sure if they like you is when you're in your teens in high school. Sure, if you're a good-looking guy and you get tons of female attention and validation, you're not technically lonely. But again, they only like you for the way that you look. It's all conditional. Also, Toolmaker, you're younger, so you haven't experienced the flip side of the equation. Women and top-tier men, when you're young, don't particularly enjoy the suffering of average guys. Most of us are invisible to them unless we become wealthy, gain status, or give them free attention. Then they tend to want to take advantage of us. Then they might see us the way we see a free ammo and health pickup in a first-person shooter game. The suffering average male is living life in difficult mode, and then things typically get easier as we get older. Women, on the other hand, live life on easy mode early on, but the difficulty mode increases as they get older. The same goes for the chads. They relied on their good looks to gain female validation and attention their entire lives, and once those fade, most of them get depressed. I see so many former chads on YouTube trying to cling to attention and validation now that they've gotten older and have started to metaphorically stink. A good example of this in real life is Justin Trudeau. Tall, attractive, rich, came from a high-status family with great hair. He literally wrecked Canada and people kept on voting for him. Then people got fed up and his look started to fade a bit, and everyone turned on him, and that's something attractive guys and attractive gals don't experience until they get much older. Do the attractive people take out their anger and frustration on the average or below average looking people? Sure, many of them might in passing, but from my experience, it's not like they actually went out of their way to hurt me and others. Being a top male means you're not alone while younger, but when your looks fall, when you get older, you end up like a post-wall woman. And because you've most likely been able to coast on your looks your entire life, you haven't built up your rich inner world yet. So women stop being attracted to you and your validation is gone. Toolmaker, hopefully you have some kids by then, or you're self-actualized. That hierarchy with chads on top and then women and then the average guys only works to a point, and then in the middle age, it typically flips. That's something the attractive people aren't thinking is going to happen to them. As for the idea that males are more likely to be assaulted in public than females, I think potentially muggers are more likely to be white knights than not. They see a woman walking down a dark alley and part of them sees this vulnerability in her and decides not to take advantage of it. But when they see a man who is a potentially much tougher target because he can fight back, they're more likely to go after him, which is kind of counterintuitive. And they don't really feel sympathy for him because he's a man and there's no reason to white knight for him. There is no biological instinct to protect him, so they attack him. I really don't think there's more to it than that. Also, maybe because they fear if they attack a woman, other men will come to her aid, or the courts will get tough on them if they get caught, although men are less and less likely to protect women these days. Good examples of that are things like that woman that was set on fire in the New York subway system, as well as other women that were assaulted. Men have decided to override their own white knighting instincts these days in favor of the ones for self-preservation, because these days no good deed goes unpunished if you try and help a woman. So while in the past and arguably up until now, men are more likely to be victims of assault in public, I could see a day when women become bigger victims, and men in society just turn our backs on them. Even the cop that was watching that woman burn on the subway did absolutely nothing to help her. And there's even a photo of him walking past her as she's going up in flames. Women not only don't care about men these days increasingly, but if we care about them enough to help them, they punish us for it. No thanks, ladies. You're on your own when it comes to male on female violence. Chivalry and white knighting are both dead, and you killed them. Aren't you strong enough to defend yourself, ladies? If not, why don't you go take a strong and empowered karate class or something? It's gotten so bad that I recently found some photos on the New York subway system where everyone was waiting for a train and they were all standing up against the subway wall and waiting for the train as far away as possible from the tracks because of all the people that have been pushed on tracks lately. This just shows me that we live in an increasingly atomized society where the social contract is broken, and at some point we're going to need a new one. Another important piece of information I came across recently is the not-so-mystery link. It's from a guy called the Chinese historian, and he figured out a key piece of information as to why relationships and marriages are failing. Because to have a successful relationship, there can only be one smart person in it. And women are looking for a man that's smarter than they are. But a smart woman handicaps herself because a smart man will generally seek out a dumb woman. I did this subconsciously in my 20s and 30s, and that's why I had stable long-term relationships. Modern women want to be the smart ones and find men that are even smarter. And by getting an education, they're handicapping themselves with regards to mate selection and the ability to hold on to that long-term relationship. But with the average woman being more educated than the average man, this doesn't bode well for families and relationship formation in general. That means that there's no way to get fertility rates above replacement with women staying educated. So either we take women's rights away and go back to traditionalism, which is not what I want to see, or we cut them out of the reproductive equation and we put men in charge of the species for the first time in history. That's the future that I want to see. Women got what they wanted, equality, and we gave it to them. Now they face a situation like we saw in the Batman films, where Bane tells Batman victory has defeated you. Women just haven't figured out that winning over men these days means they lose, because women don't want male losers, but also don't want to be losers themselves. I remember a few months ago reading that one of the first things that started lower fertility rates back in the late 19th and early 20th century in the West was due to literacy rates. Smart women's complaint about men is that they need to do better and be smarter than them. Unfortunately, that won't happen because of the bell curve distribution of intelligence. There are more dumb men than women, and there are more average intelligence women when compared to average intelligence men. And women don't want the average guy. Women also want a good-looking guy, and how many chads out there with a high IQ above theirs that are good-looking? Probably 1/10 of 1%. As women have improved their intelligence, finances, and education, they expect men to improve theirs above that. But we can't because of equal pay corporations, DEI hiring programs that ignore men, and so we can't meet their standards. But even if we could and had relationships with smart women, we would butt heads with them, and it wouldn't lead to either side being happy or stable. This feminist society we've built has no future and is unraveling fast. Most of us men don't want to be monsters taking away women's freedoms, but most of us are sitting back at the same time letting everything fall apart. I predict that there will be two groups in the future. Those that are conservative that take women's rights away, and those that are highly technological to use alternate forms of reproduction. Both will be patriarchal, but only one will be true patriarchy that sets men free. That will be the technological one. The other group that looks to traditionalism in the past as a template will eventually fail, because most men would rather live in a world where they bang androids instead of dealing with a nagging in real life. Women will try and take us back to traditionalism to at least maintain their covert power over males, but will end up failing. In their attempt to have both overt and covert power over men, they've doomed themselves, and will lose both types of power. The lucky ones in the future, what few of them will be out there, will have jobs as nannies and as donors for eggs, or possibly even surrogates before we perfect artificial wombs, or even as a novelty form of entertainment for sexuality. The lucky ones will literally become objectified. The rest will simply refuse to reproduce, instead focusing on hedonism, and their lines will go extinct. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks again to Toolmaker for the donation and topic. Don't forget to smash the like button the way that women aren't smashing enough for the continued survival of the human race. Bang the bell and check out the mystery link. Follow me on BitChute, Twitter, and Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Subscribe to me on Minds, Odyssey, MGTOW.tv, and Rumble to get the video for the day after tomorrow. This channel's been demonetized, and if you want to help me keep making content, then please support me through Subscribestar. There's a link to it in the description. Or you can do an hour-long coaching chat with the Sandman for $45 US. And it won't rush you out the door like a cheap whore. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills, and remember, a red pill a day keeps the women that wanted it all, but will end up getting nothing in the end away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.